Good morning to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Pro and HD video blog for the 3rd of July, 2017. Happy Monday to you. Let's take a look at what's going on in the tropics today. Eastern Pacific pretty busy with a couple of areas of note, both of them moving away from Mexico and Central America, so no major issues with that expected. And the westernmost system is Invest Area 94E, E for Eastern Pacific. And we can see that on the tracking chart here for the various models. Generally speaking, a westward trend for most of these over the next several days, so this will not be an issue, even as it develops into a probable moderate tropical storm, going to stay well away from the Mexican and Central American coastlines. So if you have plans for the Baja, Cabo San Lucas, and anywhere along the Mexican coastline, Manzanillo to Acapulco, no issues for you at all. In the Atlantic Basin, we do have an area of high probability for development here, Invest Area 94L, and the L in this case is for Atlantic, and you can see it outlined here way out in the tropical Atlantic south and west of the Cape Verde Islands, and expected to move off to the west-northwest with time. This is moving very slowly. It's almost stationary for the time being, which is quite unusual for the Atlantic Basin. This time of year, normally you have very strong high pressure dominating over the Atlantic, and these tropical waves come off Africa and they can really move across the Atlantic very quickly, but in this case this is not, and I think that's a sign of the type of season that we're having, that things are going to be fairly busy because we're having a different type of setup in the Atlantic Basin this year, where the weather conditions are such that these tropical waves are not moving rapidly across the Atlantic, and they have a little bit more chance to develop. Looking at the visible satellite image of the Atlantic this morning, here's our tropical system here trying to gather itself. You can see a pretty good Saharan air outbreak here to the north of it overall, and you can tell that by these low stratocumulus clouds. But this is farther to the south, where there's more moisture and it's farther away from the influences of this drier, warmer mid-level air, and as such this will probably be able to gather itself and slowly strengthen as it moves off to the west-northwest, most likely avoiding the islands, and I'll show you why I think that in just a moment. But this little tropical wave at the leading edge of this surge of Saharan air, trying to rotate in with broad turning there towards the Lesser Antilles, bringing some showers and thunderstorms today, but no other development expected from that. Looking at the vorticity signature for our system here, 94L, kind of elongated still, but it's going to gather eventually, it looks like, and move off again to the west-northwest with time. And we'll track this, and you can see as this evolves, it becomes more round in its appearance, meaning that it's bundling its energy, or what we call vorticity or spin. And boy, look at that. Speaking of vorticity over interior Africa, that blob of energy about to come off, and we can see that to some extent on the wider shot here. Really not much convection associated with it over interior Africa, but a lot of energy there that'll eventually move into the Atlantic, just like this system did, which is 94L right here. And so this is where they come from, these eastern, what we call African easterly waves, these waves of low pressure embedded in the trade winds, move off into the Atlantic, and some develop, most do not. In this case with 94L, it looks like it will try to develop. And if we look at the sea surface temperature anomalies today, this particular chart from the National Hurricane Center, it's updated a couple times a week. I'm sorry, this one's updated once a week, and it is a weekly average. And so the past week's average temperatures out here in the deep tropics, anywhere from a half to a full degree Celsius above normal, and our tropical disturbance is located about right in here, and water temperatures are warmer than they should be, and that is helping it to move along and eventually develop, it looks like. The overall intensity guidance reflects that pretty well, with a steady increase, especially in the statistical models, maybe becoming a hurricane in the next few days. That might be a little aggressive. You never know, especially if it's small and it's able to bundle that energy. There's probably very little upper level wind shear out that way. Water temperatures are warm, as I just showed you, warmer than they should be. And so maybe this will come to fruition. We'll see. More than likely become a tropical storm, it looks like. Hey, 70% chance anyway, at least from the National Hurricane Center. So we'll see. If it does, it would become tropical storm Don. D is the next name on or letter on the list, and it'll become Tropical Storm Don. So here's the GFS from last night. I want to show you this. And where's the system? It's located right down here. There's the west coast of Africa, east coast of the U.S. over here. There's Florida. And you can see over the next few days, this is every hour. Right there is 56, 59, 60, etc. Day 3. You know, it really starts to come together. This is last night's run of the GFS model. And we're looking again at that vorticity level of the atmosphere, about 850 millibars up, or, to make it easy to understand, about 5,000 feet in the atmosphere. And you can see over the next few days it gathers itself, moves along to the west-northwest, and this is the islands right here. These are the windwards and leewards, and that area probably going to be able to be steered clear from this system, as high pressure is just not very strong. And we can see that because, again, it's not moving fast at all, racing off to the west towards the islands. Instead, kind of moving along to the west-northwest to the south of this rather weak area. It's there, but it's not very strong of high pressure. So, yeah, we'll watch it, but really no big deal. Something to keep an eye on, an indicator that maybe the season will be a little bit busier than we thought. That update will come out from Phil Klotzbach in Colorado State University on the 5th, so just a couple of days away. An interesting feature developing in the Atlantic because, again, in July, we usually don't expect this far east, and it looks like a harbinger of a very busy season ahead. You got some great tools with Hurricane Pro and HD to keep track of all of this, Eastern Pacific and Atlantic stuff, so be sure to take advantage of that. And I will keep doing these videos throughout the rest of the week as this progresses. Alrighty, well, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com. That's my website, and of course for Hurricane Pro and HD. And I will talk to you again tomorrow.